Hello, this is Kevin Kaiser. Several people in our EMBA class have expressed interest in the work that I do, and so this video will give me a way to provide some insight into reverse osmosis and how it relates to the water filtration industry. Any salespeople in NALCO that I work with have gone through similar training to first understand the basics of osmosis as well as reverse osmosis so that they can sell our products and technologies to our customers. Here's what you'll learn in this video today. The definition of osmosis and where it comes from in nature. What is meant by reverse osmosis, otherwise known as RO, and how RO is accomplished in the workplace and in the world. Then we'll look at the practical uses of RO, where it occurs in everyday life, and how you can get more information. Osmosis is a naturally occurring phenomenon that takes place in plants, among other things. Liquids with varying concentration on opposite sides of a semi-permeable membrane will transport water from the lower concentration to the higher concentration until reaching equilibrium. The result is a corresponding measurable rise in the water level, and that measurable rise is called the osmotic pressure. We overcome the osmotic pressure of a liquid by applying pressure to the concentrated liquid to force water back across the membrane. Pure water is then transported across the membrane and concentrated water is retained by the membrane. This is how trees get water to the higher branches. This is how water transports across cell membranes. And this is how reverse osmosis has become a commonplace in today's world. Reverse osmosis is applying pressure to the concentrated liquid to force water across the membrane. The slide shows approximate required pressure for seawater and brackish water. The resulting water is purified based upon properties of the membrane used. Membranes are rolled into cartridges and inserted into tubes or pressure vessels where the pressure can be applied with a pump to force water across the membrane. So what do we mean by purifying water? RO purifies water by removing the salt content. The salt content is the dissolved minerals in the water, typically measured by conductivity or total dissolved solids. The RO will typically reduce the salt content or the conductivity by 99% or more, meaning that the salt passage from the RO system or the RO process would be 1% or less. Water in the Atlanta area with a measured salt content of 500 TDS would be reduced to 5 TDS, as you can see in the diagram behind me. Now that we've established an understanding of RO and what purification is, then let's talk about where it's applied, and let me give you some insight into the largest uses other than for household purposes. The beverage and bottling industry is probably the most well-known use of RO. Bottled water that's labeled as purified is usually made from reverse osmosis and is typically very different than water that's labeled as spring water, which is only filtered without altering the mineral content. RO is also used in many industrial plants for boiler makeup and for processes that require high purity water. The power industry is one of the users of reverse osmosis in many plants that have to prepare high purity water for making steam at pressures of up to 1500 psi or greater. Finally, many municipal water plants use RO to produce drinking water for the communities. You find RO in many communities in Florida and Texas and California where the groundwater is not suitable for drinking because it's too salty. Processing the water by RO that helps produce drinking water that meets the standards that are set by government. A good example of this is the community of Harlingen, Texas, that struggled with their economy until they built an RO plant that now can produce up to 10 million gallons of drinking water per day. The water available from their groundwater source was unusable because it was too salty, and with the installation of the RO plant, the economy is now thriving. So even without RO in the United States, we have the best drinking water in the world. Is it any wonder that we have the largest economy?